was a knock on the door, and my mom went to go open the door, and as she went to open the door, all you heard was gunshots. Boom, 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 boom. I'm on the stairs, and I like fall backwards. But by the time I turned 12, I had sold drugs for the first time at 12 years old. So, like, when I was staying, I want to say,
Did you have any mentors that you looked up to while you was growing up?
as far as mentors, no, I didn't. The streets was my mentor. Everything that I adored and admired and wanted to be like was in the streets, and that was like my biggest mistake.
Hello world, how everyone doing out there? Hopefully everyone is doing great. Welcome to an episode of Generational Health and Self-Love. I'm your host, Life.
Ronnie Easy.
And today we're going to give y'all a podcast centered around a father and son talking about healing from the past, and not only from the past, but just physical, mental, and emotional healing as well. And that's something I feel like that's missing out in our community. So please like, subscribe, and bear with us on this journey of self-love, self-care, and self-healing.
Yeah, we're gonna be aiming towards breaking generational curses in this podcast. I'm not gonna lie to you. And first, we're gonna start off with diving deep into my dad's past, because where he came from and where he is now is gonna be it's like something that really needs to be dissected so that y'all can understand not only who he is, but more on how he made that change or how that change came about, and just the mental aspect about that whole little journey. Because what y'all will come to find out is his past might be more similar than or more interesting.
Okay, that's a good way to put it. Yeah. Very interesting. So, as he said, he's gonna start off asking me questions about my childhood, just the different things that I had to get over as I grew older and learning more about life and just taking responsibility and not pointing the finger and trying to blame everybody for all my pain or my problems. So we definitely want people who have similar backgrounds, or just people in general, just tune in, watch, like I said before, subscribe, and just everybody just have an open mind and give yourself a chance to heal as well, because I know some of the people that's watching this podcast probably have some of the similar things that went on in their past that they may not ever got over at this present time. So maybe this can help a viewer, maybe it can help all of y'all. So please be patient and just bear with us.
Yeah, let's jump right into it right after that. What year were you born in what city? Just some basic.
What year, what city? I was born in 1976. For those who are watching, I was born in a small city called Alton, Illinois. Just to give you some reference on how where that is, it's probably 5 minutes from St. Louis, but it's in Illinois, and St. Louis is in Missouri, but it's like 5 minutes from St. Louis. So that's where I was born, and that's where I was raised.
Okay, and this might be a broad question, but looking back, how would you say your childhood was? How was your childhood looking back?
Looking back at my childhood, when I was growing up, I didn't realize that we was coming from poverty. It didn't really click until I got older and I started to have more experience with life and see different things. But my childhood started off in a project called Sullivan Drive. For those who are familiar, y'all know exactly where that's at. They called it Brick City, but Sullivan Drive was a project that was really rough. You really had to grow up quick, so to speak, because there was a lot going on at the time. You had a lot of violence, you had a lot of drugs, you had so many different things going on. So as a kid growing up in the projects, I didn't really understand everything, of course, because like I said, I was a kid, but I was surrounded by so many different things. And I seen a lot of things, and it was really, I wouldn't say it was difficult, but it became difficult over a period of time.
Okay, well, hearing that, when you were little, did you, like your living situation, did you always live with your mom, or did you somehow spend some time with your grandma, or like?
Well, that time was this is how it happened. I moved around. I stayed in different places, but what really started the movement was when we, like I was saying previous about the project Sullivan Drive. I've had to be probably like 7 or 8 at the time, and I remember I was walking down the stairs at the same time someone was knocking on the door. And my mom walked over to the door, and as I got probably halfway down the stairs and the knocking was going on, my mom went to open the door. So as she went to open the door, all you heard was gunshots. And my mom fell back. So in my eyes, my mom had just got shot. So I'm sitting on the stairs, and my auntie, who she was at my house at the time, she come running down the stairs. She grabbed me, and she grabbed my brother and my other 2 sisters, and we all went into a bedroom closet while the gunshots were still going on at the time. So once the gunshots finally was over with, we sat there for a while because we didn't know, like we just didn't know if it was safe to come out, if they came in the house. We didn't know what was going on. So once my auntie pulled us out and said it was safe to come out, I went to the stairs and I seen my mom, and I was so happy because for some strange reason she didn't get hit, she didn't get shot. So I was just really shocked and surprised because when the bullets started ringing out, she was standing right there opening the door. So I just assumed that she was shot, but thankfully she wasn't shot. And so from that point on, we all just started to move. I moved with my grandmother, my sisters moved with their grandma, so we just kind of split up for a while, I guess until my mom could just figure out the living situation, because after your house being shot up, I don't know how many people out here are looking, but once your house gets shot up, you have to do something. And I think her best option was just to get us out of there, whether we was with her or not, just so we could be safe. So I moved with my grandmother, and I like being up there with her as well. Of course, I like being with my mom too, but I moved there probably like 8 years old.
I actually had a question about the story. I seen that in the story I didn't hear anything about, your dad, or like, where did you, like, was your father in your life back then, or in that situation? Like, did you, like, was he there during that situation, or like what was?
That's a good question. That's a really good question, because when I remember that incident like clearly, but at the time, like I can't remember him being in my life at that time, but I know he was in my life because I went to stay with my grandmother, which is his mom. So in order for me to even have a relationship with her, he had to play some part in that. Right. Because I left my mom's and went straight there, and she accepted me with open arms. Like, so I can't remember prior to that if I was going up there, but I know I was, because I was told that I was going up there and staying from time to time, just spending the night, stuff like that. So, but me remembering my father at the time just being like a consistent person in my life at the time, I can't say that he was at that particular time.
Okay, so would you say that if not him, did you have any mentors that you looked up growing up? Or
as far as mentors go, no, I didn't have any mentors. The streets was my mentor. Everything that I desired and wanted to be like was in the streets. So that's what I ran into, and that was my biggest mistake, thinking that I would find all the things that felt empty. The things I felt empty about, I thought I would find those things in the streets, and those things would complete me.
Yeah.
But those things really just sabotaged me moving forward in my life and my journey and the different things I was going through. Because you gotta think, at 8 years old, seeing a gun, like thinking that your mom was shot, and going through something like that, as dramatic as that is, it's just like, at the time I didn't understand how was it influencing me, and how it was shaping my thoughts and the way I would move as I got older. And those things play a big part of the depression, the anxiety, the different things that we don't speak about because we are ashamed of being vulnerable, and we don't want people looking at us as we are weak. But I experienced a lot of different things from that incident alone that shaped me moving forward.
So would you say that at that time you shut those feelings out and put them in a box and close it or something? Like, because I feel like a lot of times we when we go through, like you said, traumatic or dramatic things like that, it affects us in a way where, like, the feeling's so strong, it's something that you want to push out of your head or just to not think about, or like, you know, just and it creates, like you said, the, different patterns or in your life. So
Well, it wasn't really me trying to shut it out. Like I said, about that incident alone, like I said, I was 8. So I didn't know how to process that.
True.
I didn't know what was going on. I mean, I knew that we were being shot at,
that's
you know,
brilliant.
but I couldn't absorb the feeling at that moment. I think over a period of time, it grew on me because as I got older and my life moved on from that incident, it was another incident after another incident. So those things over a while became, you know, bigger things for me to carry as I got older.
Okay, I understand. So moving from you being 8 and then going to your grandma's house, how was it living over there compared to, or, you know, being when you was living with your mom? What do you think?
The difference with staying with my grandma was pretty much like I didn't have to share, you know. It was just really
What?
me. I had a cousin, my cousin Stephanie.
What you mean as far as share? What?
Cause I didn't have no brothers and sisters there.
Oh yeah,
You know
y'all
what I
guys-
mean?
y'all-
Yeah.
Okay.
That was only my grandmother. That this particular grandma, which was my father's grandma, I was on his only child.
Oh, okay.
So when I went to my grandma's, I didn't have to deal with siblings, and not
you
that I
got
have a
space now.
problem. Not that I had a problem with my siblings or nothing like that, but just I had more freedom, so to speak.
No, it's okay. You
And,
get a break from your siblings.
Yeah, I had a cousin though that stayed there with me. Her name was Stephanie. She was my protector, so to speak. She was older than me, and she just used to always look out for me. She always looked out for me. She always made sure I was straight. If anybody tried to, you know, call themselves trying to fight me or anything like that, she was like my protector, and I appreciate her to this day for having my back and not mistreating me during my time at my grandma's, because she was older, so she could have took advantage of that, but she didn't. She always kept it. She always was real with me, so to speak. So I appreciate her to this day. And if you watching, thank you. I appreciate you, because that meant a lot to me.
Okay. So having to move like that to your grandma's house, like when it comes to like your school environment and like your friends, you know, when you move places, you know, usually you change friends and the people you hang around, all that starts to change. So how would you say your life was after having to move there, like school wise and just like who, you know, your crew or who you hung around?
Well, it was, as far as me making friends and stuff like that, that came, I guess, naturally, especially being so young. So one of my friends I met at my grandmother's, his name is Sherrod. I met Sherrod like 7, 8 years old, and we still friends to today. Actually, my best friend. You know, we've been friends for over 40 years. So that was something that I got from staying with my grandmothers. You know, meeting people like that who are genuine. I also met other people too, and we still close to this day. But meeting different people and coming from like the projects, like when you've been in the projects, it's like you in an area where it's a bunch of people at one time. So it's just it's almost like being in school, so to speak, because you're surrounded by so many people. So you either gonna get along or you gonna get it on. But I made friends. That was pretty cool. You know, easy for me to do when I was younger. And staying with my grandma, like I say.
I mean, back then, I know y'all probably went outside a lot more. So what did y'all have to do? Because like you said, y'all was in the project. So what would y'all even be doing? Like, what did y'all do for fun back then in the projects?
In the projects, we would do, like, I had my uncles. Some of my uncles stayed out there, and some of my cousins stayed out there. I remember some of the things we used to do. We used to race popsicle sticks. I don't know if you know anything about that. Like when it was raining.
Race.
Yeah, it was raining. You get your popsicle, or maybe you had the sticks left over. So you get on the curb, and you got like a small little hill, and you'll put your popsicle. We just drop it at the same time, and we just walk down the sidewalk like That's my stick. That's my stick. That's my stick. Following the stick all the way down. And like that was one game that we played. But one thing that my family played a lot was basketball. So we played a lot of basketball and we fought. And I mean like boxing gloves. You always had the children outside boxing. That was something that we always did. I had a friend of mine that I boxed all the time when I was out there. And I'm sure he gonna be watching this. I ain't gonna say your name because you gonna tell everybody that he used to bust my nose every time we boxed. But it was good. You know, we never had no problem with each other. And plus we was small. We was young. This is, like I said, this was when I was in the projects. But no, they used to have us boxing all the time. Like it was always, you gotta be tough. You can't cry. And I remember one time, my brothers, my stepbrothers, and some of my other friends, they took a clothesline that you would hang your clothes up on.
A hanger or
a clothesline. Like
the line that you hang outside.
Yeah, and they tied me up with it and drugged me through the project. I'm talking about on the concrete, downstairs, and these stairs concrete. The whole time they dragging me, they telling me, "Don't cry. You better not cry. Don't cry." This is their way of trying to make you tough. And to be honest, I was crying like a baby. What you mean, don't cry? This stuff hurting.
So they tied you up and it was just
dragging me down the sidewalk, down the stairs, concrete stairs, and telling me not to cry. This gonna make you tough. And so they said, we gonna untie you when we do. don't go to acting crazy. They untied me. I grabbed a bottle, a brick, and I just chasing them around, crying and stuff like that. But those are some of the things that we did in the projects, and it was normal, you know. So that's just thinking about those things. Just, you know, those are things were a part of me as my future as I grew up, and it kind of shaped my way of thinking.
Okay, so how would you say your life was in like high school growing up? Because I know that's when you was like littler, you know, probably like 13 to like 8. Or
13. Well, okay. Well, when I moved from my grandma's from the projects, I stayed there for a while, went to a different school, moved back to my mom's, and when I was about 11, I got put out the house, and then I moved back to my grandmother's house. So now I'm back up to my grandmother's house at 11 years old, maybe. Well, I was 11.
Wait. So you got put out the house like at like 10, the age of 10 or 11?
No, I was 11 years old.
You got put out.
Yeah, I got put out. So I went to my mom's house. Back to my grandma's house, where, of course, she had no problem with me coming back, and I stayed there, and I started to go to. I started high school from my grandma's house. So some of the things, like, I got a whole other group of friends at my grandmother's house than I do at my mom's house.
Right.
And so now these group of friends at my grandma's house, we getting into different things now. We young teenagers, so we used to do stuff like on the weekends, on a Saturday, we'd get together, we'd meet up somewhere on the street, not actually at my grandma's house, at my friend's house, but just somewhere in the neighborhood. We'd meet up, and we'd start our journey, and we'll start from wherever we meet up at. We'll walk from there, and we'll walk to the grocery store. On Saturdays, that was the thing, because they had them samples out. So we going to the grocery store, we hitting them samples up like crazy. So they have somebody sitting out and they give you one. So it'll be probably like 5 of us. So when we know the samples out, we wouldn't go together all at once to get them. 1 or 2 of us go up. We'll get a sample, eat it, walk around this way, come back around after. We just be in rotation.
Y'all got an assembly line.
We got an assembly line to get them samples.
The free samples at the store.
The free samples, because we had to get something to eat, because we needed energy, because once we left there, we was about to go stealing. So we needed something in our bodies.
Yeah, it can't steal on an empty stomach.
No, it can't steal on an empty stomach. You might have to take off running. So then that's what we used to do. So we'd eat the samples, and sometimes if the samples weren't enough, we'd go somewhere and just open up something and eat it and just get on up out of there. And so we left the grocery store, and then we would go to a store. At the time, it wasn't Target, but just to put you in the mind of what type of store we went to, it was like a Target that we went to, and we would either take shoes, Like if we got old shoes, we'll just take them off, leave them there, put on some new shoes. We really was just taking like in toys.
In the stores?
Yeah.
Or just take the shoes off.
We take our old shoes off and put on new shoes and walk right out with the new shoes on because, like I said, it was kind of like a Target. So you wouldn't. It's not like how stores are now today. Mm-hmm. You can easily just walk out with the stuff. Right. So we would do stuff like that, or we would just take toys and stuff like that. So we'll spend time there, and then we'll leave that store, and then we'll walk to the mall. And on the way to the mall, if we stop and see another store we like, we'll stop there. But for the most part, we'll walk to the mall, and if we had a couple dollars, we play the video games at the mall and try to break in people's lockers because people would shop and they just put their stuff in the lockers, and we'd be breaking in the lockers.
How you break into the lockers?
With anything you can find. Okay. Screwdriver or anything. And like I say, back then, things wasn't as secure
definitely wasn't
as they are now. Yeah. So it was a little easier to do those things. And I'm not saying this thing's bragging. I'm saying these things because that's what we were doing at 13. Mm-hmm. We were doing those type of things.
Your life, it's true stories.
Yeah,
not just telling it how it is.
Definitely.
So, hearing all that and knowing the fact that you had to go back to your grandma's and all that, so how would you describe your relationship with your mom back then?
You know, that's a good question. And my relationship with my mom actually was good. The only thing I didn't like was my mom didn't play about them whoopings. So outside of that, we was cool, but them whoopings was different, you know. So she had what they say now, what they would say now. She had hands, so and she didn't play. You know, she was very strict, a beautiful person. But I just realized as I got older, she was just trying to figure things out as well. You know, so all the things that I may have felt, the anger or as I got older and stuff like that, I learned to understand and learn to forgive my mom for anything I may have felt back then because that's my mom and I love her and she always been there for me regardless. She just been there in a way that she know. And and I had to learn how to accept that and not try to look at her and try to change her and make her be this way or that way. I had to accept her for who she is. And once I learned how to do that, I was able to love her even more because I was accepting of everything that went on with us. Right. But we had a, and to this day, we had a beautiful relationship. So I love my mom. You watching, Mom, I love you. And I appreciate you being patient with me because I took you through a lot as a young kid and a young adult. Okay,
I seen that you just said that you took her through a lot. So is there some more like intense situations that you had to go through or like that you would say that like, like this was a lot. I know that it was probably a lot to handle as being.
Oh, definitely. Because, okay, like I said, I was moving back and forth. So when I was about 11, like I said, and I moved back to my grandmother's house, I still would, on the weekends, I would either go to my mom's or go to my dad's on the weekends. Mm-hmm. So when I left from my grandmother's and went somewhere else, now I'm in a whole different neighborhood.
Right.
So I got friends here too, and I'm hanging out. So when I was 12 years old, to be honest with you, I sold drugs for the first time when I was 12 years old. And at the time, when I first did it, I was very excited about it because it was just, it was just different.
So would you say it was more, so were you excited about like selling it or you excited about the money you got from selling it? Or
it wasn't even about the money. It was about the way that we view those type of things. Those things were looked as being like people. We looked up to people who done that.
Yeah.
And we looked at like wow. I mean, I'm sitting here, I got a gun. I'm sitting here in the house. I'm doing all type of stuff that I shouldn't have been doing. And back when I was actually doing it, I didn't really understand what I was doing. Looking back, it's like, damn. But in the midst of that, at 12 years old, no, I couldn't really break down the behavior patterns that it would invoke on me. I couldn't break down like how it would change me in my process of thinking about different situations. I didn't understand none of those things. All I wanted to do was do what I seen on TV, do what I seen in my daily neighborhood.
Yeah.
So it's just, I didn't have to look to the TV. I could just go outside and see people selling drugs. So when it was my turn, so to speak, I embraced it with open arms, not understanding what that lifestyle had for me in my future.
Yeah, I definitely feel like doing that as a kid would affect your mindset on a lot of things, because now that you young, you probably don't understand about money at all, really. But you know that this gets you quick money, or your idea of money gets fragmented, and it's different now because of how you got it and how old you was, and probably not even being able to process everything that you're really doing, like you said.
Yeah.
So I can only imagine how that affected you going on and how you dealt with different situations when it came to like money. So knowing that, is there like, what would you say are like the top things that you went through that you for sure never wanted your kids to go through?
Well, one of the things I did moving from home to home, that was something that I moved like from my mom's to my grandmother's to my aunties to my sisters to my dad's. So I was everywhere, and that's why everybody kind of in that area, everybody knew me because I was everywhere. I went to this school, I went to that school. I had friends here, I had friends there. But most of the people that I hung around were people that were older than me that was in the streets. So fast forward to about 14, 15, I joined the gang. That was something that I kind of strayed away from because a lot of my friends were already in the gang, but I was kind of taking my time because I was trying to pick the right one.
Okay,
seriously.
Yeah, okay, but first, let's go back to like, you said you was 12, started something that was probably your first time.
Yeah.
Now you say you're 14 now, and you just think about joining the gang. But from 12 to 14, like, how was it? I don't even want to get all the way into it, but money wise, would you say that it was making you money like at that time? Like how would you like?
Yeah, I remember.
Was you still doing it a lot?
Yeah, I was doing it because when I remember when I was like in the 7th grade, I remember the detectives coming up to the school to speak to me. So I went in the classroom, and I get they tell me to come to the principal's office.
Right.
Over the speaker, and I come to the principal's office. It's a police detective in there. They asking me about, I got on brand new shoes, I got a pager, because back then wasn't no cell phone, so I got a pager. I got, I had a couple dollars in my pocket. I probably had like $200 or something in my pocket, something like that. And
what? $200 is a lot of money.
And I guess I didn't know. Maybe somebody was talking, and they had, because I don't know why he singled me out. I guess someone was talking, and I didn't say nothing. I was just like, he was like, "How do you get these new clothes or new shoes or something?" He asked. I remember asking me something like that. It's like, my family, my dad, my mom got parents, whatever. So once he seen he couldn't really get nothing out of me, he just left me alone. I went on back to class, but
okay, I'm not gonna even get too much into that. But then he came in there to ask you about where you got your stuff from and all that weird stuff. But no, $200 back then, and you're just you in 7th grade having that in your pocket, that's a lot of money. Yeah. Like, if I had $200 in my pocket in high school, that still would be a lot of money to me nowadays. So that's definitely like, whoa, that might be eye catcher or something like that.
But the thing about it was, I wasn't at school. I didn't brag, or I wasn't at school like telling my classmates like, yeah, I do this, I do that. I mean, of course they probably could see, they might have heard or thought, but there just was never nothing that I discussed at school because I didn't want to get nobody else in trouble that I hung around either. So my job was to just keep that. But because like once I left school, I lived a whole different life than I did at school. School, hang out, hey, yeah. When I get out of school, it's different because I'm around older people. So I'm in older situations. I'm around things that most of my classmates are not.
All the time?
Yeah, by the time I was 14, I was driving. I can remember right now, my mom I didn't stay with my mom when I was 14.
Right.
My mom calling me. My mom was in an abusive relationship at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen my mom deal with domestic violence throughout my life. That was kind of part of the reason, without going into the whole story, why I had got kicked out at 11. It was the whole story behind that. But I remember I was 14, my mom called me, and she said, all she said was, he over here tripping, which meant that she was about to probably get physically harmed. So remember, I'm 14. She calls me. I jump in the car. I ain't got no... The average kid at 14 ain't driving. I'm driving. I jump in the car. I drive to my mom's house. I jump out the car. I got a gun in my pants pocket. And so I walk straight in the house and I say, Mom, get all your... And I cuss. I said, Mom, get all your right now. Mm-hmm. And then I looked at her... the person she was with at the time. And I just looked him in the face and said, put your hands on her now. Because at 14, I feel like I'm a man. I'm grown now because I'm doing grown stuff, so to speak. So I never took the gun out. I never waved it because I come from where if you show it, you got to use it. So I wasn't just going to play with it. I was dead serious because this is my mom. So I'm willing to do whatever to protect my mom. So my mom got all her stuff. And she left, and she never looked back from that moment. And I was, like I said, I was only 14, but I had to do what I felt like I had to do at the time and protect my mother.
Okay, I'm not even gonna ask how you got the car, but so you pulled up in the car, to your mom's house, and then came in there and was at 14. You telling her to get her stuff, and you telling him like, put your hands on out while holding. Just not showing it, but
not even showing it. Just had my hands to my side because I'm not finna play about my mom.
No, like 14. That's like middle school or the beginning of high school.
I was in high school. I probably was like a freshman, maybe sophomore. It was like somewhere in that area right there.
Yeah, no. That's. I can only imagine where I was at 14, and then hearing you saying that about what you was doing is like a whole different like type of living. So I guess in a way, you did stop certain things from being led, kept going from different generations.
Break that cycle.
Right.
So to speak.
Okay, you living this life, you said you sell drugs at like 12 years old, which is obviously insane. Then you doing this stuff at 14, you doing all this drugs. So what would you say would be like one of the worst situations living in that lifestyle has put you in? Like what has happened from you picking that type of lifestyle or being in that environment?
Another great question. Well, as I guess by the time I was 17 now, I'm in the game, probably 2 years in the game by the time I'm 17. And I remember being at my sister's house close to the mall, and a friend of mine, he came running up to her door, knocking on the door, like just in panic. And I opened the door, and his arm was bleeding. I'm like, what's going on? He's like, man, somebody just cut me.
Cut him?
Yeah, so we went in the kitchen, and we ran cold water over his arm, and he was explaining to me what happened. Now, it wasn't bad, but it was bleeding.
Right.
Like, it was bad enough, so to speak. And so he was telling me what happened. He was like, oh, they around the corner and all this stuff. So I was like, okay, it was him and probably a couple more of my friends. I don't remember exactly how many of it was. Right. So we all walked over there around the corner. It was really right around the corner. So we walked over there, and I say something to one of them. They get smart. I grab like a 2x4 and smack it across one of their faces. Wow. And
you talking about like the wooden
2x4 piece of wood.
17.
I smacked it across one of their faces. They took off running. So we went back around to my sister's house, and I was like, oh, they're going to come back trying to be tough. They probably going to grab a couple people. So I called my cousin, who at the time was, because my sister stayed it wasn't a projects, but it was an apartment complex. Mm-hmm. And my cousin was down the street at one of his friend's house.
Right.
I called him, and I asked him, did they have any guns down there? And he was like, yeah. I said, well, I'm going to need one or two, or bring them, a couple of them up here because of what I just explained to him what happened. He was like, okay, cool. So by this time, I I don't know how much time had passed between me calling them or whatever, but I know they had came back. So they were all outside. And so when you walk out of my sister's house or out of her apartment at the time, you could either go right or you can just go straight up these stairs because there was apartments upstairs as well.
Right. And they had came back with more people, right?
I mean, I don't know how many more
Okay,
people
yeah,
came
it's
back
hard to
with them.
remember. Mhm.
So I go outside, I go walk up the stairs, and it's like a landing right there before you go up to more stairs. So I was standing there, and a friend of mine, he was at the bottom of the stairs, and he was looking at towards their direction. He was like, it looked like they leaving. And so I went to talking all my smack, you know, yeah, why y'all leaving now? And I knew my cousin them was on their way up there. So I turn around and face my friend.
Yeah, because you was talking then you hit the...
I turned around to face him, and I heard a gunshot. Wow! And my first gunshot hit me. I know it hit me. The first one would hit me. I heard more, but I don't know how many more. But I know it hit me. And as my friend was coming up the stairs, and he looked at me. I'm looking at him, and everything kind of slowed down. I remember him. He had a gun on him. He went to shoot. And before I blacked out, all I could remember was him shooting and then me just going backwards. That's all I remember. And once I gained conscious, I was in my sister's kitchen, laying on the floor. So when I fell after being shot, somebody must have pulled me inside. They did pull me inside of her house. And as soon as you come in, you in the kitchen. So I was laying on the kitchen floor. And I'm laying there, and all of a sudden I can just hear all these voices. So I hear all them talking, and my nephew, at the time, he couldn't be no more than about 2 or 3. He walked up, and I remember them like, grab him. So somebody came and grabbed him because they didn't want him looking at me like that. And they from their conversation, I'm hearing, they thinking I'm dead because I'm just laying there. But like I said, when I got shot, I was unconscious, so I didn't have no movement. So while I'm laying there, I'm like terrified to open my eyes because I'm thinking to myself, once I open my eyes, it's over with. I've been shot in the head. Ain't no way I'm about to survive this. So I was just so scared to open my eyes. So I was just like, at some point I gotta open them, and I opened one at a time. And when they both was open, I'm like, okay, I'm still breathing. I'm still here. And I was just like, and then once I opened my eyes, somebody seen me open my eyes and looking. They was like, he ain't dead. So then my sister ended up coming running back in there. And by that time, my cousin, them that I had called, they come running in the house. And my uncle was actually with them too. And so my uncle was like, move your fingers. I moved my fingers. And then he was like, move your feet. So I moved my feet. So he was like, just lay there. It don't look like you paralyzed, but just lay there and wait on this ambulance to come because they on their way to get you. Right. So the ambulance got there. They put me in the back of the ambulance. They took me straight to St. Louis. And I went to St. Louis University Hospital, and I was over there. And they was just, they took x-rays. They was just looking at my head. And they was like, they told my mom, you got 2 layers of skull. It went in the first and got stuck in the second. They said had it hit the third one, I'd either been dead or a vegetable, which is still dead. So they was like, they wanted to just leave a bullet in there because they was like, it was almost like it had been screwed in there. It was so tight in my skull. They was like, we just want to leave it in there. My mom was like, no, we can't know because 5-10 years from now, the bullet might shift, might move, and then he might die. So they was just like, okay, well, we won't take him to surgery tonight. They took me to surgery like the next morning. And so they had to remove pieces of my skull in order to get the bullet out of my head because it was stuck in my skull. And so I'm laying here. You got to understand, too, I'm 17 years old at the time. I had no business putting myself in that type of situation. But at the time, I felt like that's just what it was. So I'm laying here in the hospital. My mom coming to see me. Different people coming to see me, but not a lot of people because my mom wouldn't allow too many people to come over there. But I couldn't even walk at the time. Like I'm sitting there, I'm laying there, and the doctor's telling my mom, like, you need to get him out the bed. He needs to at least try to walk. So my mom's like, the doctors told me that you need to walk, so I want to try to help you get out the bed.
Right.
So my mom and her friend who came over with her to help me, I put my arm around my mom's shoulder, put my arm around her friend's shoulder. They helped me get out the bed. But by the time I make it from my bed to the door of the room, I can't go no farther. It just was too much. I was in so much pain. I just felt like, I said, Mom, I can't do it. I'm like, I'm ready to cry. I'm like, I can't do it. I felt like I was in more pain after being shot than I was when I first got shot.
Yeah.
It was just my head just felt so big. I just felt helpless at the time, you know what I mean? Like really struggling to walk. I really couldn't understand what was going on. So she would come over. I was probably in the hospital like 5 days. So she would come over there and she would try to get me up. You know, I'm using the bathroom from my bed because I wasn't all I was doing was urinating. I wasn't doing number two. So I couldn't do it at the time. All I could do was release my fluids, so to speak. So they would come over there and they were still trying to help me. Probably about the fourth day, I made it past the door. You know, that was just like my progress, but I couldn't do it. And you got to understand, when I was doing that, I was being helped. I wasn't doing it even on my own at the time. So
you 4 or 5 days in the hospital right now after the incident.
Yeah. So, like I said, I probably stayed like, I want to say 5 days, could have been a week, but from my memory, I think it was about 5 days or something like that. And they got a wheelchair for me when it was time for me to go home. I went home in a wheelchair. A friend of mine, he came and picked me up, and he drove me to my dad's because I was staying with my dad at the time. So he drove me to my dad's house. They helped me out the car, got me up in my bed and stuff like that. And from there, it was time to recover. You know, I had to recover because, like I said, I wasn't walking. Not for no long, especially for no long distance. It was just so difficult and painful that, you know, and just looking back and speaking on it, I really didn't understand the significance of what was going on. And not only that, but just the pain that I was causing the people around me, especially my mom.
I was about to say, you only 17.
Yeah, and seeing her son shot in the head. Like, I really didn't, you know, being that young and your mom coming to the hospital to see you, you're expecting like that's what she's supposed to do. So you're not even internalizing the pain of her hearing that, getting that phone call, hearing her son being shot in the head, her driving to the hospital, not knowing what type of condition I may be in or if I'm going to live. I never even took into consideration the pain that I was putting on my mom at the time. And it was just like, as I got older, I'm like, man, I can't even, because now I have children. And seeing you being in that same situation, I don't even know if I could deal with it. So for me, putting her through something like that, I'm like, man, I was, that was crazy.
Cause I still remember when I got in an accident and my car got totaled, and I just calling you, and I was trying to be as calm as possible. I was still in the car when that happened, but I think I had found a way to get out the car. But I remember calling you and trying to keep my voice as calm as possible while telling you. But I can already tell just from me when I was telling you, like, I was like, Dad, I just got in an accident and my car is definitely totaled. I'm by the gym. Can you come get me? And you was like, what? Like, what's going on? Your car is totaled. I'm on my way. And, you know, and when you got there, you know, I could feel the energy from you that it was definitely weighing on you, the whole situation. So.
Oh yeah, and you had a wreck, and you could have. I'm surprised you walked up out of that car like you did, but me understanding how bad your wreck was, I was ready to cry right there on the spot because I'm looking like my son could have just been killed or just really seriously hurt. So looking back at 17, shot in the head, in the streets, and all this, like I never ever just never took a look and just really try to get a grip of how my mom was feeling. You know, I wasn't mentally prepared to even take on the thought of that. I was just living in the moment.
Yeah.
Not understanding, like, I'm driving this woman crazy.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of times we don't understand that we are living our own life, but our actions affect everybody around us or who's involved with us. No matter like even if we don't think that this might not affect somebody else, but usually almost all the decisions we make affect another person in a different way, but we just don't know all the time.
Oh no, we just don't know. And so after getting home, going through that, my dad would just he would make me get out the bed. He was like, "Get out the bed. You gotta walk," like that doctor said. So he was like, "Get up and walk these stairs." He said, "You wanna be laying in the bed for the rest of your life? You don't want to learn how to walk again? Because if you don't get out that bed, that's how he was talking to me." So I get out the bed, I walking up the stairs, down, I'm holding on the wall. But after doing it over and over and over again, I'm like, I'm finally getting back to myself. But I used to have like these different spells, so to speak, like if I stood too long, I feel like I'm falling, and I had to go back to the bed and lay down. And after being shot, I lost 85% of my hearing on my right side. So you remember you was saying like you used to always wonder.
Yeah, I was asking you questions. You like, huh? What you say? Or even just you gotta speak up, son. Da, da, da. I'm like, I just say like you're right here, right? You can't hear me, like, but you never told us nothing really back then about what you had went through, or even that whole situation until like maybe like sometime in middle school or something, or maybe I found out about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it definitely explains all the times where I had to repeat, dad. But yeah.
I couldn't tell you till I felt like you was old enough to really understand what I was telling you, so I wouldn't have to repeat it. And plus, I knew that, you know, as you got older, I would tell you more and more about my life and my past, so you could understand or try to get a better understanding of my background, where I come from, and why I did some of the things I did that you may not understood at the time. Just like I didn't understand some of the things I was doing at the time. I didn't understand the domino effect that it was having on my life moving forward. So I'm in a gang. I'm 17, been shot in the head. Now I'm learning how to walk again. And I guess like going through that whole experience at the time, I think I used that experience to even validate my street credibility to even more. Like honestly.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, that's...
I've been shot in the head. I survived. I'm out here. I remember like a few months after being shot, me going to like a high school basketball game. I still got bandage on my head. Everybody walking up to me they had nobody seen me. Right. Besides somebody, you know, my closest friends and family. Nobody seen me because I was just in the house trying to, you know, get myself back together mentally and physically. So when everybody saw me when I first came out, I mean, I was taking all that, you know, the girls, "Oh, you okay? I heard." I'm just sucking it all in and not understanding like the damage I was doing mentally. I'm sitting up here thinking like I done did something great. I've been shot in the head to survive. I'm not looking at it like in the sense that you got a second chance at life.
Right. It's not,
do something different.
Yeah. Change
your lifestyle. I'm not looking at it like that. I'm looking at it like, yeah, I've been out here in these streets now. You know, that's just another trophy, so to speak, that I can put out there and say I'm this, I'm that.
Oh yeah, I don't know why when you said the whole bandage thing, you come to school, everybody, and you know the girls on. I thought about like when people come in with a cast on and they have them come and sign in all that. That's what I thought about. It was like
everybody was hugging me, everybody was showing me love. It was just like I ain't gonna lie, I liked it. I loved it. I took it all in. I was like, oh man, everybody's showing me love. But in the inside of me, I didn't know I was fueling a demon. That's what I was doing. I was fueling a demon. I was fueling a part of me that I should never have became.
Yeah.
And didn't understand right then and there that I'm playing with my life. I'm playing with my future because I'm living a life that is so dangerous, so reckless. And at the time, I embraced it. Yeah. I wanted it. So now that I'm back as far as like I'm moving around, I'm physically recovered, but I haven't dealt with none of this mentally. I'm
Right.
physically healed, mentally, emotionally,
Probably worse.
I'm tore up,
Yeah.
but I'm not understanding that. So here it is. I'm back out here, and now I get shot in January. In March, which is my birthday, I end up getting someone pregnant, which
So,
9 months later, your oldest sister arrived. So it's just more trauma. And what I mean by that, here I am getting someone pregnant, and I have no clue of the responsibility
that brings.
that brings on having a child. I have no clue. Have no clue. No one. I'm still a teenager. I'm still in high school.
Right.
I just been shot in the head, and I was playing on that when it came to the women. You know, with the girls, I was playing on that. Oh yeah, I've been shot, and so they was like, "Oh my God!" So that made them more attracted to me.
Wait, so was the bandage over your eye too, or is just on your side of your
Just
head?
just so behind my ear.
Okay.
Yeah, it was no reason. I didn't need nothing over my eye. It was just behind my ear. So here I am bringing a life into this world without no type of foundation, no type of stability. I'm just all over the place,
Right.
and just really using my pain, using sex to get to. So I thought that was like a way of releasing my pain, so to speak, getting away from reality, and
Yeah.
I just, like I said, I am bringing a young child bringing a child into this world, not knowing anything about
Right.
being a parent,
Right.
and I'm just living day to day, and so January, shot. March, I get someone pregnant. April, I get locked up.
That's the crazy sequence right there. Hold on, first, because you get shot in this. It's not even that you only just got shot. You got shot in the head.
Yeah.
And you have to relearn how to walk and all that.
Yes.
Then you get somebody pregnant, and then you get like that. Like that's like you said, you was going down a downward spiral. Your mental was definitely torn. So that's just a lot right there.
It definitely was a lot going through all those. You gotta think that was in a 4-month period of time.
all in 4 months.
So I was like really on a road to destruction. Like and I ain't gonna lie, me going to jail, me going to prison, probably saved my life.
Yeah.
Because I was doing so many different things, and really, the thing that I was doing was trying to find myself. And it may sound crazy, but that's really what I was doing. I was in the streets. I was selling drugs. I was carrying guns. I was doing all these different things, but I really was trying to figure out who I was, because I felt so confused in day-to-day life. I just felt confused about so many different things that was going on in my life, because all I seen was drugs, violence, just on repeat.
Yeah, so that is kind of interesting because you have so many things that you see going on in your life, and that the environment you're in, and out of all that stuff, trying to figure out who you are. Because are you your environment, or are you the things you've seen? Yeah, are you the things you see? You gotta.
Yeah.
It's something that you have to figure out by. I guess you got to go out and
Trial and error,
like you said,
Yeah.
because you can't just sit there and just go with the flow, or you'll never know who you are.
Definitely. So I just was going through so many different things at the time, and I didn't know how to articulate at the time. I couldn't really
Comprehend.
explain what was going on in my head to nobody, because I didn't feel comfortable. I didn't feel strong enough. I felt like if I was to talk about what was going on, that I would put myself in a vulnerable situation. And so I really embraced more of the street life, more of the gang life, of all those things that came with that than anything else, because That's all I knew. That's all I seen. That's all I was around at the time. So I just felt more encouraged to do that than to actually deal with
And I
what
feel
was
like-
going on.
I also feel like that might have been easier to hide your insecurities about certain
Oh,
things
yeah.
because, I mean, when you out there doing what you want and being a drug dealer, doing all the things you were doing, it kind of hides who your true like who you really are because you out there just being tough or
Oh, yeah.
because back in the day more so men don't talk about their feelings or none of that stuff. Now you can't so being a part of that life just coincided with you hiding your insecurities or not talk about it because I mean I'm a man, I'm tough, I don't really talk, I don't do all that. You do what you do back then.
Yeah, I'm tough. I'm do all that, and all the time, the toughest guy be the loneliest on the inside. The toughest guy is the one who's screaming out for help on the inside more than anybody. The little boy inside the tough guy, he feel abused, abandoned, let to suffer. Like it's so many. If we could talk as men about how we truly felt, the world would be a better place. Our relationships with our children, with our wives, girlfriends, with our family members would be so much better. But we're so stuck when it comes to expressing ourselves and not being honest with who we truly are. And even just asking for some help. Like, look, I've been going through this. I saw this happen. I saw this person be shot. I seen this person get beat up. I saw this person go to jail. I saw all these different things going on. And no, I'd never, ever discussed these things. You just, like, it's just like, for me, at that time, talking about those things, that was a no-no. No, we don't talk about that. We keep our feelings bottled up.
Yeah.
We don't, man, like I told you when I was younger, and they was dragging me through the projects, telling me don't cry.
Right.
The hell you mean don't cry?
Exactly.
That done dragging me down a concrete sidewalk, down concrete stairs, through dirt, grass, sticks, bottles, and telling me don't cry.
Right.
That was the mind of us back then. No one taught us how to really be men. They was teaching us how to be tough. What's tough without anything else? What's tough without having without having the ability to express yourself, without having the ability to tell someone, hey, look, I don't like this, or I feel this way, or I got so much going on in my mind, I just need to talk to somebody. Those things just never happen.
That's soft. That's soft.
Yeah.
You say you want to talk about your feelings?
Yeah.
You soft. So I'm pretty sure that's how it was back then. Like people, if anything, you don't want to talk about nothing that'll bring up emotions. Like being emotional, oh nah. But not even like, because when I say, it's the difference between being emotional about every little thing and being emotional about when you talk about certain situations, which would be okay.
Well, not even that, because even when you talk about like even with me being shot, even with me, like when we talked about it, we ain't talk about it like how me and you talking about it. We talking about like, yeah, they came around the corner then, it's like this.
Yeah.
So you really ain't you talking about it from an emotional, not even knowing that we were being taught to be more emotional than we were taught how to control our emotions. See, because in the streets, they tell you to, basically, when you have an issue, you solve it with your fist or with a gun.
Violence. All right.
So that's more emotion right there. Not understanding that the real thing to do is talk.
Yeah, it's kind of like the female, the male's version of having an attitude.
Yeah.
So you want to start fighting and all that, because when women get or have an attitude, they start acting up or whatever, they start getting loud or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like the same thing for a male. It's just violence now.
It's just violence,
But it's still emotional, and it's just having an attitude. Really.
Yeah, it's really a weak emotion, because for you to resort to violence without anybody putting their hands on you is just showing that you're weaker in that than the next person. You're weaker when it comes to controlling your emotions, because like I told you before, when I was in 2nd, 3rd grade, they tell you in school, Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me.
Right.
That never stuck with nobody because soon as somebody say something to us, we ready to explode.
Right.
Even though we were taught at a young age, sticks and stones will break my bones, but words. Most of the time I got into a fight or got into it with somebody, it was because of something they said.
But I think it's because we don't even understand that our first emotion is not even us. We have to learn that we can control, because we think that when somebody says something and it makes us feel some type of way, we have to act upon it. But
Yeah.
we don't realize our greatest gift in being or having this life is being able to control what our reaction to things. So
Yeah.
like when it might feel like the first emotion that you feel when somebody says something to you is how you're supposed to react, but no, it's when you get to a point where you can control that, that's where you conquering something, like, or that's that sticks and stones can break my bones, but
Yeah.
words can never hurt.
Yeah.
When you
Yeah.
realize that you have control over that, that's when that plays a part, because they can't hurt you because you control your reaction.
Yeah.
So,
But you got to think like this too, and what you're saying is true. But take you back again, 8 years old, house apartment getting shot up, thinking my mom was shot, getting put out when
that
I
is
was.
sticks, though.
No, I'm saying listen to what I'm saying. Get that situation. That's a life or death situation. A knock at the door. Your mom go to answer the door. Boom, 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 and you see this at such a young age. 11 years old, getting put out the house. 14 years old, being called to protect your mom from being physically abused. And so, in between all this, though, these are just a few different things. We talking about years of different things going on. So, me speaking on those stories, also dealing with the fact that I'm moving from these different places. Now, all these different places I moved, like from my mom's to my grandma's to my sisters to my dad's to my aunties. I mean, I was cool. I never had nobody mistreat me physically or anything like that. They didn't verbally abuse me. But in each one of these situations, I had stuff going on in my life that I seen so many different things happen. At 14, I seen somebody smoke crack for the first time. Blew my mind. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
This 14. I ain't got no business doing all these things. So mentally, all those things were shaping me up to be the person I eventually became as I continued to grow and become a young man, from a teenager to a young man. All these different things started to shape me. So,
now that I think about it, it's like all the things you go through that you have no control over when you're little, like you said, start to shape you. But then when you start deciding to do the things that you are more geared to, or that you feel like are more things that make you who you think you are, you start to change your life into shaping it into who you want to be or who you really are. Because like first, like you said, being a kid, you go through these things and then those things shape you. And eventually you get to a breaking point, like you said, with the 4 months you went through all that stuff, the shot and the thing. And then after experiencing certain things, I mean, I know you still went on to experience more stuff after that.
oh yeah.
But eventually it comes a point where you start doing things that then start to change you to become the better person that you want to be.
And that's true, but this is the thing. You had to see something different in order to know there's something different. See, you become like they say, a product of your environment. So when you go outside, if you see drugs, you see gangs, you see guns, and then you go here, and when you go outside, you see the same thing. So no matter where you go, this is all you see. So this is all you know. And when this is all you know, in order for you to change, something, you can feel it, something ain't right. But in order for me to change, or in order for me to even compare my life to something else, I have to see something else. So I have to I have to get away from what I'm seeing on a daily basis in order to understand that it's something else out here besides what I'm around on a daily basis.
No, yeah, I definitely agree with that, and that goes on with my point. But it's either, like you said, what I was saying is either when you start making decisions for yourself, which would be to get away from the stuff to see something else, or the life is gonna make you get away from that stuff, and you're gonna end up seeing something.
But I didn't want. But my thing was, I did want to get away from that stuff.
That's what I just said.
Yeah.
Life was gonna make you like.
Oh,
going to
okay,
jail.
yeah.
Life gonna make you
It's gonna make. Yeah,
if you don't make it on your own.
Yeah, if you don't make that decision on your own, the universe, you can't defeat that.
Yeah.
So it definitely will. It would definitely push you into some type of direction to where you can start seeing things that are different, because I embraced the life that I was around. I enjoyed it because everybody that I was around embraced it too.
Yeah.
You know, so
it's something to look up to back then.
Oh yeah, something to definitely, you know, I'm becoming a man. I'm doing this. I'm giving my mom money at 14, 15 years old. I'm giving her cash. I'm giving her money. I'm driving. I bought my own car when I was 15. Like when I pulled up at my mom's house, I was driving somebody else's car, but I was driving on the regular.
Yeah.
You know, at 15, I bought my own car. And now I got my car. I'm driving this car, that car. I pretty much get anybody's car, you know, and I just was out there, like really out there, and not understanding how much danger I was putting myself in.
Well, I think that we're coming to end though, but I definitely want to continue this, you know, later on and get in, because that was really just teenage years. Sound like, so you ain't even became the dope from 20 and up.
Oh
you,
yeah.
You know, you're older now, so I definitely think that we can get into that. To all that on the next episode, but for now, I think that was pretty good.
Oh yeah, and I just want everybody out here, please, when you watching this is not to be the things I'm talking about. Once again, not bragging. I'm not saying those things were good. I'm just explaining to my son and the rest of the people that's watching that those things had me in such a unpredictable situation as far as my mental capacity and the way that I thought and the things that I appreciated. Like I didn't even know how to appreciate life. I didn't know how to appreciate myself. I didn't know how to get rid of the pain, the frustration, and all the things that I was going through at the time. So hopefully the people that's watching, hopefully I can get some positive out of this. And it's just trying for us to all heal from our childhood traumas and stop blaming our parents for the things that at this point in our lives we have control of now. So the things that happened in the past that we didn't have control of, it's just got to let them things go. So
that's a good way to
appreciate you guys tuning in. Love you, son.
Love you too.
And hope to see y'all in the next episode. Peace and love.
Peace and love.